So as I say, I want to kind of, as Ian alluded to, just let's go on a journey together in some respects. I'm maybe going to mention some companies that you've never heard of, but I know there's a lot of finance people in the room, so I'm going to do it in the theme of numbers and acquisitions and mergers, and let you guys understand really what has gone on in the world that is just digital marketing over the last 20 years in some respects, and actually where Google started and where it arrived at. So, I'll try not to stand in front of the stage. We love Google at the end of the day. Google is a brand that we deal with. There are 2 trillion searches a year on Google. So Google's got some runway in what it does. Combinations of keywords are all put together in different ways. So the landscape of search evolves every single day. And so I've been pretty much around it for the last 20 years, and it's constantly interesting to see the new search terms and queries and things that people look for. 60% of those now happen in a mobile environment. Google has recognized that, we've recognized that as marketers, and that will continue to grow. It's through 60% in the last year. Sort of go back 12 to 16 months, it was just approaching 50%. We're now at about 62% of all online search occurs on a mobile device, which is absolutely stunning. We live by these devices that are in our back pockets. Digital growth continues. I mean, if you take the IAB stats and the numbers over the last sort of 10 to 12 years, digital as a market was worth 6.7 billion in 2006. It was 40 billion in 2016, exceeding TV spend, which nobody ever thought would happen in 2015 here in the UK. TV was always the big thing that everybody put the money into. Digital is now bigger than television here in the UK. And search just continues to grow and continues to grow, and driven by that mobile environment. So, we're in a great place. Certainly for someone like me that works in digital, and for you guys that are digital marketing managers or search marketers or are working within a marketing environment, it's a great market to be in. It's a wonderful place to be around. So how did we get there? So let's go back. This was Yahoo in 1994. Look at that sexy purple colour. Everything that's going on there. Imagine turning up to that web page saying, what the heck happened there? But that was Yahoo. Yahoo was driven via a directory theme. You clicked on the directories, or as a marketer you went and placed your company or you personally in a directory. They categorized you, then you had to click down through the directories to find you. It just didn't work. So in 1995, Yahoo even introduced a search box back then. They were the trailblazers. They really were. They got it horribly wrong, and we'll come on to talk about that story, but they were the trailblazers of the world that we live in. In 1995, there was 16 million internet users globally. So imagine actually building a website back then and going, where is everybody? Well, they were out there, but there was only 16 million of us actually online back in 1995. Me telling this story makes me sound really old, I've just realised. I'm not that old, honestly. I've just been kicking around for a while. Another wonderful company, amazing colour scheme, bright yellow. First came across that in 1998 when a yellow taxi in London went past me with this logo on the side of it. Well, what the heck is that? About 3 weeks later I was in their office talking to them about paid search marketing. They invented it 2 years before Google actually got off the ground with it. GoTo.com was part of Disney Group. It was then rebranded as a company called Overture, and they changed the colour scheme, thankfully. And Overture at the time was the biggest company in paid search marketing out there. It was fantastic because you could see the bidding on the actual landscape. You can't see the price in the landscape anymore. But you could actually build technology where you could bid jam people. You could bid 1p above them. They'd bid 1p above you and go up and up and up and up. And then you could just drop down below and they'd be left high and dry, like £100 a click. But thankfully it's kind of moved on now and there's things in place. But these guys trailblazed it. In 2001, as I say, rebranded as Overture. 2003, acquired by Yahoo for $2.2 billion in a matter of years, which is absolutely stunning. It's the nature of the world that we live in. Google hasn't really changed that much when you think about it. The logo's got a little bit more refined, but this was actually Google's beta page in 1999 when they actually launched the site. And we'll come on to give you some stats and statistics, but I'm going to keep an eye on Google's revenue as we go through the process here. So in 1999, no revenue whatsoever. They built a website. It's a good start. Over the UK, obviously we had Overture in the US that came to the UK and went globally before it was acquired by Yahoo. There was kind of the rival company which was called eSpotting that rebranded as Miva, which again was a paid search marketing landscape that was prior to Google. Again, went on an incredible story. They were based out of the old Truman Brewery in London. It was a couple of brothers and a couple of finance guys that set up the site. A guy called Seth Bishop, who's gone on to do things on TV and charity work with Red. I think he's been working with Gwyneth Paltrow recently and all that sort of thing. So he's really moved out of search marketing. But again, founded in 2000, 80,000 euros of revenue in 2001. Literally sold 97 million to findwhat.com in 2003. Again, a quick 3-year journey. But again, part of the history of where we arrived at today. And what was really interesting back then is there were so many places you could buy actually advertising on. You think about where we can buy advertising now as marketers, it's pretty much Google in some respects and Bing that have any notable growth for us to play with. There's other places around the world. We had all these wonderful places called Splut and Dogpile and companies like that. Or BT Luxmart was another one where they had a paid search auction. But you could buy from so many places, which has obviously gone on and evolved to change these days. So in 2000, this company was invented by these two geeky dudes over here, Larry and Sergey. And this is a lady who's done very well out of it, and we'll come on to talk about her in a moment as well. So a few statistics. 1997, Google.com was registered. Good start for a company. 1998, they incorporated it in this lady, and I'm not going to try and pronounce her surname. Anybody know how to pronounce that?
It's a Polish surname.
For years of So every time she comes up, you're going to say that, okay? Thank you. So I'm like, Wahiki, Wahiki, don't know. But yes, they incorporated Google in her garage. This is her. This is Susan. That is her garage. This is true. This is a true story, honestly. Please go with me on this one. That was the original deal. $1,700 rental, hot tub use, raid the fridge. That was officially what it was categorized at. Imagine when these two guys turn up on your doorstep, you know, sort of thing, and they're not going to, would you like to rent a garage? Okay, why? Because we're an incorporated company. And she closes the door and says, nah, you're not for me, guys. Imagine if she'd done that. Hold that thought in your head. She didn't, she said yes. 60 million pages in the index by 1998, 52 billion are there today. The overall web, as we know it, is about 130 trillion pages. So Google actually only indexes less than 1% of the internet. That's how big the internet is out there. In 1999, Susan joins Google as the marketing manager. So there's 52 billion pages in Google's index. In the open internet, we are aware of 130 trillion pages. So it's just around about 1% of the pages Google actually indexes out there. It's huge. Thankfully, they index all the commercial ones from all the big brands, but there's an incredible amount of pages out there on the open web. She joins as marketing manager in 1999. $410 million result for her, because she is now the CEO of YouTube. She was the SVP of Google AdWords for 12 years and is now currently, for the last 4 years, the CEO of YouTube. Imagine if she closed that door to them. She'd be crying herself to sleep every night now. Why did I not say yes to the garage habit? But that's basically where she stands today. She's had an amazing journey with Larry and Sergey. First dog went in 1999, they were a dog company. 2000, AdWords launched. 2004, their IPO raises $1.67 billion, which was big at the time, on a $23 billion valuation. Great thing is Yahoo owned 2.7 million shares in Google, so they must have made some good money out of that IPO, ironically. And in 2006, Google buys back the garage for 1.1. It kind of became like an Elvis Gracelands moment. Everybody was going to visit Google's garage where it was incorporated. So they bought it back, they now own the garage, they put the PCs back in it, and the world is a wonderful place. Susan's sister Anne married Sergey in 2017. She's now divorced from Sergey. She's probably got more money than Susan's got. I'm absolutely certain of that one. But she actually runs a company called 23andMe, the DNA testing company where you can find out your history. She owns that company, and the original investor into that company was Google, to the tune of $4 million. So it was a very tight, close family workaround. Google bought Motorola in 2011 for 12.5, sold about Lenovo later. They wanted the data. They bought Waze. If anyone's using satellite navigation, they own Waze. They employ around about 57,000 people, and Google in 2016 was worth about 133 billion. So in 1999, zero revenue and 100k of investment, and that's where they are today. And HTC has announced that they're doing a cooperation agreement with them in 2017, where Google's putting about 1.1 billion in for data to help increase and accelerate their Android capabilities for sure. So 2007, 16.5 billion of revenue. The other guys had to come up with something. They were dwindling. They were losing market share. Google at this point was in the region of about 70-odd% global market share. So Yahoo and Bing started to think, well, what can we do? The only obvious thing to do was to smash each other together. Ironically, I worked for Yahoo at this time. I helped put these two companies together in 2010 and make sure that the platforms cooperate together, and Yahoo did the sales piece of the business and Bing was all the technology platform. So this is the only thing they had left to do to try and grab some market share and some meaningful growth for advertisers to buy. 22nd of July, what happened on this day in 2013? I don't expect you guys to know that because you don't really work in search marketing. I'm going to ask the yard lot. What happened on this date? No. No.
Enhanced campaigns. The mobile marketing landscape changed dramatically.
Boom. See, thank you. Sorry. Good to have you here. I didn't tell them the answer, honestly. Came out there.
You've seen the slides.
You've seen the slides. As well. This for us in 2013 was just like basically, it was an absolute nightmare. We kicked, we screamed, we swore. It was basically Google recognizing mobile in a lot of respects. So for years, as I used to work agency side as well, for years we were told by Google, split out your campaigns. Have a desktop campaign, have a mobile campaign, have a tablet campaign. On that day, they basically smashed everything together and just basically created bid accelerators that allowed you to target mobile. So it became one auction. And I think what they realized at the time was basically this, more and more searches were starting to occur on mobile devices, and the CPC for mobile targeting was half the price of desktop CPC on a cost per click basis. So if you actually smash the two together, you take away that problem. It's easy. We make more money. The world's a wonderful place. But they really did recognize that mobile opportunity. Google is not just about search though. Google really, really, really has many, many things on the go. This is just me going on Google's website and pulling it out. They have their fingers in many, many technology solutions. And they have reliable partnerships right up to government level to things like NASA. Google is a lot more than search marketing, but that little ad that you see at the top of Google still drives most of their revenue today. So, 2013, 55.5 billion of revenue. 2014, 66 billion of revenue. 2015, 75 billion. 2016, 89 billion. 2017, $109.7 billion of revenue from AdWords. Stunning growth, stellar growth. It is a license to just print cash, Google, in a lot of respects. It really, really is. They don't have to do anything for money to come through the door. I mean, they could sit back now, probably close everything down, and just watch money come in. I mean, it's just it's a stunning story to follow. So when you think about them as a business, when they IPO'd, I wish I'd bought some shares at the time at $52. Shares are now worth about $1,200 per share within Google. The growth, again, as a market valuation of their business, is just stunning and stellar. But let's take a minute. That's where we've arrived at today. This is the world that we know. And this is how the Google has arrived at where we believe and where we're going to go next. We'll talk about in a moment. But it's an amazing story with amazing numbers, with huge growth. There is a massive, massive dope moment. So, Yahoo could have bought Google twice. So in 1998, Google's two founders, little Larry, little Sergey at the time, had a little trip around Silicon Valley from Stanford, trying to sell, basically, and get investment for their algorithm, that is Google search that we know today. They went around major players, but like Yahoo, Alta Vista, and they weren't interested. They offered it to them for $1 million. $1 million. Yahoo could have bought Google for $1 million in 1998. I mean, that's just, it's bonkers. You know, they said, no, we don't need it. We've got our kind of our own algorithm thing on, that directory thing going on. We don't need it. All Larry and Sergey want to do is go back to Stanford and build stuff. Out with $1 million in their pocket. I'm pretty glad they're not, because they're worth about $40 billion now. But really big, bad moment, that. Then they didn't buy them in 2002 either. A little bit more of a higher price tag in 2002. Google wanted $5 billion, because it launched AdWords and there's revenue there. Yahoo offered $3 billion, and the rest is history. But they could have acquired that company in the world that we live in today. It could be a very, very different place. We could have had Yahoo. The irony is then Yahoo hired the original head of search marketing, Marissa Mayer, as their CEO about 5 years ago. She tried to turn Yahoo around. The world was too late. Yahoo's where it is today. It's called Oath, and it's integrated with AOL. So again, irony is they hired a Googler to try and help them get out of it. So, search today. Google really, really is our world. The statistics are phenomenal. I mean, Google now, as global market share, is over 90% of all of the world's search engine marketing. So when you have the other players sat over here, it's very, very clear to see who's the winner at the moment. As I say, there's a couple of bastion outposts. Yandex in Russia, for one, they kicked Google out. Baidu in China, for one, they kicked Google out. These are places which are still clinging on, and they have incredible local market presence and growth within those regions, but Google really is the rest of the world in some respects. Bing is fighting hard, and Bing is growing its market share in different areas, which is wonderful to see. And they continue to evolve, but when you look at just actual search engine marketing, as in search keywords going into boxes, Google very much owns that space. So I won't dwell on all of these facts, because I think there's just some interesting ones if you want to try them. There's a load of stats in here. You can have my slides and you can have a play with it afterwards. You're more like, don't know if you get the slides out afterwards, Ian. Yep. Great one is go and search a SKU on Google. Google was wonky. Brilliant. If you ever need to play, who remembers Atari? You know, the Atari space game? Yeah. Go on Google Images and search for it. It'll bring the game up and you can play on it. Brilliant. I'm not a geek or anything like that. I love the fact that the I Feel Lucky button costs Google $110 million per year because it passes ads. They don't fuss, it's $110 million. Google went down for 5 minutes in 2013. Internet traffic dropped by 40%. Just shows what Google, they own Google, it sucks. And I think that one's amazing to think about it. A single search requires more computing power than it took to put Apollo 11 on the moon. Imagine the guys that were in that spaceship. If they'd known that at the time, they wouldn't have gone, wouldn't they? In a lot of respects. But the processing power is stunning in some respects. And then obviously this one as well, again, Mr. Bezos of Amazon, very smart guy, very, very clever at the time. He invested $250,000 into Google. It's now worth $2.2 billion today. He bought the shares. So number of searches on Google, 3.5 million searches in 1998 when they first incorporated the business, through to this year today where we get 5.4 billion searches a day. So for context, that means that 56 seconds it takes the time to do all of the searches that happened in 1998. So the time that I've been talking for the last 20 minutes, we've obviously gone through 20 times the annual volume of searches that Google had in 1998. It just keeps happening. We keep plugging stuff into the keyword search box on Google. It's just something that's going to keep evolving. So, statement from me is Google, I believe now, is a paid and e-commerce destination. I really do. I mean, when I think back to Google many years ago, Google basically just wanted to get you onto the site and get you off the site. That was their mantra. Give you good results, quality results, and make you leave. They're very much changing that model now, and they're bringing in, you know, the ability to stay on the site. You know, from everything like hotel bookings to things like, you know, flights. I mean, another interesting company that Google acquired, everything that's powered in here for the flight booking system is a company called OTA, which Google acquired about 10 years ago for £700 million. OTA is the back-end booking system for every travel company in the world globally. So all the hotels and all the flights that you see getting displayed in things like Expedia or Apodo or those types of companies, Google owns the technology that actually powers all of that stuff. And that's why Google can then do this sort of thing on Google. Computers, e-commerce side of things, they probably went a little bit far with this one in 2015. I don't know if anybody, I had Money Supermarket as a client at the time. I got that kind of WTF phone call as you go, and then you pass that kind of phone call on to Google. So what Google did at the time is they decided to start building their own finance insurance houses. So Google went and did deals like Money Supermarket did with 120 insurance providers and finance providers, and then basically slapped a box in the middle of Google, because they're Google, they own Google, where basically you could go and put in your details, and it would take you through to effectively Google's own version of Money Supermarket, where you could then obviously go and buy insurance and stuff like that, which kind of didn't please these guys like Money Supermarket or Go Compare and stuff like that. Google very quickly backed out of that because people like Money Supermarket, who spend tens of millions a year with them on AdWords, probably went through the toys out of the pram down at Google HQ, I can imagine. Now we know that the world is very, very much about us. So everybody in this room today is different. I'm not going to talk too much about this, because I think other presenters are going to talk about it as well. But really the ability we have as marketers now to target individuals in different ways is absolutely phenomenal. We know who you are. We know what you do, we know your likes, your dislikes, where you've been, what you've done. It's not just the pre-qualification anymore of somebody putting a keyword like, I'd like to buy an iPhone, into Google. And we know that somebody wants to buy an iPhone and then present them with an ad, that's what we used to do, and you click through. We now know who that individual is, what they like, what they dislike, what the gender is, what the demographic is, and everything like that. So there's layers that can be played with. It really, really is about you. 65% of revenue comes from multiple touch points. I think Paul's going to talk a bit about that, and Sam probably will mention it as well. But it's stunning to think that it's not just a straight one-off buy anymore. The world evolved into multiple touch points. And I love this one from a mobile point of view. If you give somebody a bad mobile experience, they're 60% less likely to revisit and purchase from your site in the future. So the world that is mobile today, get it right first time, because you could lose out. Right, so where do I think we're going for the kind of the last 5 minutes? Where do I see the future in some respects? And this is me kind of spitballing and looking at things that I've seen over the last few years and thinking about where could the world go. I'm going to put a bold statement out there. So for us as marketers, I believe all media will be bought in a search-based audience, auction. So when we think about paid search of years ago, and I mean paid search now is effectively 20 years old, you went on and you bought in a bid landscape keywords and position. And we've seen the market start to evolve more and more now towards that. And it's taken a while for us to get there. So what I mean by this is when you start thinking of things outside of paid search, where we go in to say we buy our keywords and we auction those keywords to get prominent position, and we're effectively acting like a stock market. I think the world of everything in the digital channel and outside of digital channels is going to go that route. So if you think back in my slides, 15 years ago, you could buy search from many, many outlets. So if we think about display, digital display, around about 83% of US digital display will be bought in an automated channel. So effectively a paid search marketing type model in 2018. And there are an incredible amount of buying points that you can buy digital display from. So again, I think they're going to start going on the same sort of journey. If you think about TV, pre-roll advertising is placed within TV. So when we watch TV in a non-live state, in some respects, and we watch it on demand type TV, all of the advertising in there is already tailored to you because they know who you are and they know what box that is. So they actually put advertising into that space. Imagine if they put that advertising into an auction-based space. And actually, you as marketers could bid for the prominence to be in that space for that demographic of person. So again, I think that will start to go that way. Radio for sure, definitely. Digital radio, things like Spotify. I think you would go on advertising in an auction-based model again within radio. Goes without saying on mobile and applications and different things like that. Apps is going to be an interesting space to watch. We're already seeing an incredible amount of mobile advertising. App advertising or in-app advertising is really going to accelerate, get away from that annoying stuff that we see in there at the moment. There's endless the opportunities with that in the next sort of 10 or so years. Outdoor. So there's an incredible amount of digital outdoor boards out and around, you know, not only London for this example, but Edinburgh and things like that. These things are connected to the internet. These things have mobile responders within them. These things can be told who you as an individual are as you walk past that billboard because you've got this thing in your back pocket. So I bet everybody's got the phone in the pocket. So these things know where we are, who we are, and what we do. And you can change the advertising on these billboards based against the type of person that's within that environment near that billboard. So there's enough people that are of a certain demographic in a certain environment, the advertising will change on these billboards to suit those people. Everybody likes a traffic jam. Billboards, this is the road actually, Euston Road out of London. Lifetime updates and feeds on billboards. Again, it's connected to things like the weather. You can connect that to an individual as well, and you can target the types of people that sit in these cars, commuters in the morning, different people through the day, commuters in the evening, and place advertising based against those people in real time as well. And that will go into an auction-based model as well. I think the final thing for me, it's bold, it might happen, it might not happen. I think Google will verticalize at some point. I think we're already starting to see they've got so much growth in things like travel, and property, and finance, and retail. I could see them verticalizing their business into specialisms like that. It would start to tread on the toes of things like Rightmove and companies like that. But I think that's certainly one for the future, which I think will be interesting to watch whether they go there in the next 10 years or not. But I think it's fair to say, Google is absolutely our world. It's a huge part of everything that we do. We all use it. How many people use Google every day? See, all of you. How many people use Bing? Yes! Come on! I want everybody to come out of this room, okay? And I want you to go about the office, and I want you to do 5 searches on Bing. Alright? And see what the results are like in comparison to what you get on Google. Because I think you'd be incredibly surprised in what you see, because Bing's results are incredibly good. Okay? And Bing will be really happy because Bing will suddenly see a spike in Scotland. Holy crap, what happened there? So it'd be interesting just to see what you get, because the perception is you just Google. To Google, you go Google, it's a verb, it's a sort of scenario, and that's why they have the market share that they have, it's a way of life. Just give it a go and see what you get, because Bing's results are incredibly good. I'd say use Yahoo, but just not, honestly. It's not because I'm an ex-employee or anything like that. So, thank you. That was me.